Over the last 3 years, we've been witnessing a downward trend from LEGO Lord of the Rings, going from Rivendell to Barad-dûr to the Shire and the Balrog Book Nook. 2026 is coming back for redemption though, with the new two rumored sets being a Sauron Bust and the much desired Minas Tirith. Today I want to tell you about my hopes and expectations for both those sets and explain to you why I still choose to remain cautiously optimistic. Welcome to the Brick Collectibles Show. Tell me what your dream Lord of the Rings set is in the comments and let's get into it. In 2023 Rivendell, you were able to find a small map of the whole of Middle-earth. While it's a bit messed up in places, it featured 5 major locations. 3 of these locations have already been adapted by LEGO. Rivendell, obviously, Barad-dûr and the Shire. There were 2 more placed on that map though, the Tower of Orthanc and the capital of Gondor, Minas Tirith. According to leaks, it is this very fortress that will be the subject of LEGO's next D2C Lord of the Rings set, and so far we actually have only gotten very little information about it. The only solid rumors so far are the minifigures. No set number, no piece count and no price, which is rather unusual. But let's look at those figures first now, since the rest will be more so up to speculation. The 8 or 9 figures reported so far consist of Denethor, Faramir, Pippin, Gandalf the White, King Aragorn, as well as 3 or 4 Gondorian Soldiers. This isn't a great selection of minifigures, I'll be real with you. There are some much desired figures in here, don't get me wrong. I've been waiting for Denethor and Faramir for a long time, and I'm sure loads of people will be thrilled to get a new Gandalf the White, but we can probably agree that a few more figures wouldn't have hurt. I guess this ties back to the price that is still unknown, but looking at previous sets, Rivendell featured 15 minifigures, Barad-dûr 10, and even the Shire came with 9 of them. For the assumed scale the set will reach, 8 or even 9 minifigures seem rather puny. Now, obviously leaked information can be wrong, but thinking back to last year, the leaks about Barad-dûr came fairly close to the final product. I can see us getting 1 or 2 different figures perhaps, but this set will probably largely stay away from the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. Most of us would have probably liked to have seen an Éowyn, a Theoden, or most importantly, a Witch King in this set, but LEGO's focus seems to firmly lie on the characters that we actually see in Minas Tirith. Maybe I'm just delusional, but I still hope that we get a Witch King in this set. I said the exact same thing last year about Barad-dûr, but truly I don't see us getting this figure in any other set. Theoden, Éowyn and Éomer are characters LEGO can still make in a potential Edoras set, but the last alternative for the Witch King would be Minas Morgul, and there's no way we'll ever see that from LEGO. In terms of minifigures we know something about though. Denethor and Faramir are figures we haven't seen before, but I imagine LEGO's portrayal will be fairly accurate and in line with the quality we've seen in Rivendell. It'd be interesting to see if they decide to bring back the old hairpiece for Gandalf the White, and on the other side, if they'll potentially make a new hair mold for Aragorn. Since I don't know whether the leaks imply that Aragorn will wear his King Alistair outfit or his Gondorian armor we see him sport at the Battle of the Black Gate, I can't yet gauge if we're in for a new combo hair crown piece or just his regular hair. I sure hope though that the Gondorian soldiers will get new helmet molds to mimic their unique shape from the movies. Shoulder armor would be fantastic as well, but looking at the orcs from Barad-dûr, I just don't see us getting something like that. But speaking of Barad-dûr, let's make a smooth transition to my thoughts on the build in this set, since I think it's gonna harken back to quite a few aspects from 2024's Lord of the Rings model. Barad-dûr used a mixture of micro and minifig scale, having a normal gate for figures as well as a fully fleshed interior, while most of the exterior is significantly scaled down. I think we'll see something similar for Minas Tirith, especially for the interior. The 7 rings of the city are impossible to adapt into minifigure scale without tens of thousands of pieces, so I'm sure that most of it will be in micro scale, but there are 2 parts that'll be interesting to see LEGO adapt. One is the gate, which I can imagine LEGO might scale up to allow for minifigures to pass through, just as they did for Barad-dûr. Perhaps we'll even see a similar mechanism to open the doors, and the second aspect is the white tree. It's an incredibly iconic part of Minas Tirith, which is why I can't quite see it scaled down, but that would also mean the entire courtyard on top of the city should be in minifig scale as well. Obviously, it's the most recognizable part of the Gondorian capital, the place where Aragorn is crowned king, but it's also a huge area, and that's why I genuinely don't know how LEGO will go about it. In terms of interior though, it'll probably be similar to Barad-dûr, meaning we will get some of the most famous rooms from the movies, such as the throne room where Denethor meets Gandalf and Pippin for the first time, and later also feasts. Of course, I hope LEGO will include the fire, in which Denethor tries to kill himself with Faramir too, since that is like one of the most iconic scenes from the 3rd movie. For the rest of the interior, I imagine we'll see another armory perhaps, stables could be another inclusion or something like that, similar as to how it was done in Barad-dûr. But since 2024, there has been another tradition in the Lord of the Rings sub-theme, which is the accompanying gift with purchase. For Barad-dûr, it was the Fellbeast, admittedly not a great one, and the Shire came with the Smeargol and Diargol set, which was kinda crazy, but also a really cool and niche choice. The question now is, what would make sense as a promo for Minas Tirith? The first idea that was thrown around by the community was something around the Witch King. In my opinion, this is highly unlikely given that LEGO isn't known for including such wanted and new characters in promos. I'm personally also just against it because a figure like that should be more widely available and not confined to a single time-limited gift with purchase. So what other options does LEGO have? Since Smeagol and Diagol was based on the prologue of the third movie, I'm of course hoping for something to do with the prologue of the Fellowship of the Ring. Getting a set including Elendil and Isildur, for example, would make sense as a promo for Gondor's capital. Another option could be a part of Osgiliath, as we saw it with Barad-dûr, featuring Boromir and his Gondorian armor. Faramir is reportedly part of Minas Tirith, so why not get his brother in the promo for that very set? Those are just my ideas for the gift with purchase, but there is one more rumor about a third Lord of the Rings set releasing in March of 2026, about which we actually know a little more. Set number 11373 will reportedly be a bust of Sauron, similar as to how we saw them for Iron Man and Iron Spider. At 538 pieces, it will be considerably larger than its two predecessors, which also reflects in the price though, sitting at $75 in comparison to the previous $60. The one thing we don't know yet is whether we'll see a Sauron minifig in this set. Both the Iron Spider and Iron Man bust featured figures of their respective characters, but the situation was also a little different. The Iron Man and Iron Spider busts included completely new figures, variants of figures that appeared in loads of other sets already, while Sauron's only promo minifig so far appeared in nothing but a $460 set. We're now faced with three options. The worst one is clearly that LEGO decides to include no figure whatsoever. Not only would this be a deviation of the established norm these sets have followed so far, but it would also greatly impact the set's value, which already isn't fantastic at $75. The second option is that we get a different version of the Sauron minifig from Barad-dûr. This isn't bad whatsoever, as it would give us a new Lord of the Rings figure, but option 3, which is simply LEGO giving us the same Sauron minifig, is simpler and also what I prefer. There's no real reason for LEGO to make a new version of this character, and I'm all for taking very desired figures out of extremely expensive sets. It would certainly add to the value of the set, and I would die for this as an opportunity if I wasn't in the extremely fortunate position to have been able to get Barad-dûr last year. Now that I've referred to it so much throughout this video, I want to recommend you check out my video on that very set on screen right now. Mainly though, I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, goodbye.